Kept you waiting for a reason here. Okay. All right, make a difference. That's what this speech is all about. Let's see if we get it up. There we go. All right, make a difference. I'm Arnie Tyler, President and CEO of MerLion Advisory Group, and I've got some real exciting technology to talk to you about in the world of maritime operations. We call it Project Argus. It's a maritime multi-domain awareness tool, and that tool is to be able to define what's going on above and below the surface of the waves all at the same time. The opportunity, well, the United States has been, in the United States Navy, we look at everything from the surface of the water up, and in the port environments, we don't do a very good job of looking at it down below. I know that. I spent 20 years doing port security, harbor defense, and that was one of our biggest critical vulnerabilities that existed. We've got that seam of operations that happens right between the transition from water to air. Again, we look at it great from the radar side, but we don't look at it from the vulnerability side of what's happening below the wave tops. Example of this, well, the Chinese are dealing with this with the Filipinos on a daily basis right now. The Chinese have a 9-dash, they went to a 10-dash line about a year ago, where they're taking up all the South China Sea and saying that's all those resources are ours. Okay, well, if you had a mapping of what's going on in that world, you might be able to better understand how to defend your own resources. Well, in this case, it has an impact on 120 million people. If the Chinese are going to pull the food sources up, even as close to their territorial waters at 12 nautical miles, that becomes a problem. The other problem is down there listed at the bottom. You got all kinds of traffickers working the East Coast. Those traffickers are moving narcotics, they're moving people, so human trafficking, and even more gruesome, they're taking children anywhere from 7 to 20 years old. They're harvesting their organs and taking the organs back to other countries. All right, I think we can make a difference, and this is how we can do it. Argus is a system that looks above and below. I mentioned that. We have a HydroCat, something we've been working on for the last couple of years. Got about 100 grand invested in this thing. I want to put it to work somehow. On the top, we've got a LiDAR system. We've got those little bands showing how we would map everything above the water, and we've got systems, a sonar system that can map everything down below the water. The challenge is you can't really mirror those two together. You can't put those two data sets together and then apply algorithms to it. They got slightly different variations, well, data density right off the top. It's a problem, right? So now if we could do that, we could do a digital twin of everything below the water, digital twin everything above the water, do it all at the same time, apply an algorithm to it. Now you can determine changes, you can plan against it, you can plan your defenses against it. There are all kinds of activities you can do at that stage. What does that look like? Well, here's an underwater version of what that digital twin might start to look like. Now imagine you had a ship here and you had an object attached to that ship. It wasn't there last time, but you don't know that unless you have something to look at it. What if you need access to the port facility from the water side? If you can't see those interfaces, the access from the water, and on the top side, what are those avenues of approach? We call them threat vectors. But if you can't see that, then you can't do anything about it. So you want to be able to see all that at once. So I looked at the landscape out there. Who's our competitors and what are they doing about it? There's three primary areas that I saw that really had some big vacancies. One was a digital twin. They're not doing it underwater. They're doing it above the water, but they're not doing it underneath. They're doing it above water because it's great for planning. Processing of fused data, taking those two data sets, fusing it together so you can apply the algorithm to it. We've got to be able to get to that point. And down there at the bottom, the change detection. What was there yesterday isn't there today, or what's there today that wasn't there yesterday? Is it a narcotics package? Is it something else? We need to be able to figure that out as it goes. Is there opportunity? A ton of it. We've got business to government, we've got business to business. Navy ports, not only that, but we've got 19 Filipino bases out there. I just got back from talking to some of their senior leadership. And they're looking for all this. They want to be able to map everything out underwater, be able to protect their shorelines, but they don't have the resources to do it at the moment. This would help them with their ports. Argus can then, with the sales that I've mapped out and the services we could provide, I looked at, okay, is it a viable business? Down there at the bottom, I figured out with just sales of 12 units, well, some of it's HydroCat, some of it's HydroCat plus Argus. If I did a 50-50 split, 12, 20, and 30 over the next 3 years, we're not doing too bad. I can make a profit after about 2 years. That's being conservative. I mentioned the Philippines is having an issue, right? There's 9 other countries that are affected by the same issues that are going on over there right now. Do I have the right team? Absolutely. I spent 31 years in the Navy, doing 20 of that was port security, harbor defense. Scott Jerebick was Defense Threat Reduction Agency. He was an admiral in the Navy doing that work. So we got the strategic level going. He also spent, he's also on our Strategic Advisory Committee. Steve Morris down in the lower right-hand corner is the U.S. Secret Service. He did technical services security for everybody from Reagan through Obama. So I think we've got the right team, along with some industry partners in the Flux Tensor with the algorithms and Ping DSP with the sonar systems. This pitch gets me a bridge. It gets me some staff. It gets me the ability. And we need to be able to take all this forward and start making a difference on the other end, so I don't have to have families affected in the Philippines and other places due to organ harvesting. We can also provide opportunity here in the U.S., even in Brownsville, for putting these systems together and having some enhanced activities here in the local area. With that, I'll take questions.
So can you explain a little bit about the radius or reach of each one of those devices? So for example, you're speaking about the South China Sea, right? So how many of those devices would they need to span that location to cover that area?
Yeah, so one HydroCat system, now the Argus could go on a HydroCat or it could go on any vessel over there. So it wouldn't have to be just on ours. One HydroCat with a system like this could do a half-mile by half-mile scan in a day. You don't have to do it every day. It depends how much you want to do. But I figured one vessel per port would work. Now, if you want to take it offshore and do a more aggressive mapping of the entire coastline, if there's only 7,000 kilometers of coastline in the Philippines, for example, right? So there's a lot of it. And we got 20,000 miles here in the U.S. That's going to take a lot of vessels, but it doesn't have to be on one of our uncrewed vessels. It could be on any of them. The range of it is not an issue in that we can set it up with Starlink or we can go satellite. Starlink's the most applicable, and the Ukrainians are using it for uncrewed vessels right now for all their issues with the Russians. So there's a lot of different opportunities as far as range of the vessel, but it's going to take. If we just covered the Navy ports and the Filipino bases, we're talking 60 units right there.
What's the real-time density and depth of the device?
Say again?
What's the real-time density and depth reach of the device? And how often can I get like refreshed images?
Okay. The depth, I've designed this to work in the coastal regions. So if you're looking at 300 feet and less is really where it's designed. So your ports, your waterways, your harbors, anchorages, that kind of area is where I've been focused. So that's the first one. And refresh, it's a near real time. That's why we went with the mathematical algorithm. It was quicker, talking to Flux Tensor, we'd get a quicker processing on board and push that information through Starlink or any other system over to an operations center, and we could be looking at it near real time as we go.
The reason I ask is sometimes we have planes that mysteriously disappear and crash into the ocean, and we couldn't find them for a long time. Could this be a service to that, trying to find lost?
Search and rescue, search and recovery, I think it'd be an outstanding opportunity for that. So. Nothing else? I'm between you and libations, right? All right. That's it?
Okay, we're good.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you.